With my 35 years of experience, our team at US Asset Management can deliver professional investment management, financial planning to help you target your goals, and even specialized divorce financial analysis if you need it. We are here to help you make better decisions with your money. Call US Asset Management today and let's get to work in your financial future. Do you already have your investments with Fidelity? I'm David Cross with US Asset Management. Did you know that you can assign your investment management to my team and put my 35 years of experience to work for you? You simply assign us as your investment manager and you keep the same username and password. Professional management, and you get to work with someone who shares your values. Call US Asset Management today and put us to work for you.
What happens in Georgia gets revealed one by one as the facts are unsealed. From the pit comes what they don't want you to see. When the daily nugget of truth is dropped with your host, BKP.
And we're back. Just like that, we're back. It's Monday, August 17th, 2026. Very hot outside. Very hot. I'm telling you. I'm your host, BKP, and you're watching BKP Politics on voiceofruralamerica.com. I hope everyone had a great weekend. I really did. I had breakfast with some friends Saturday at the Sawmill. Got to give them a little shout out. The Sawmill in Blairsville, Georgia, up there in Union County. Some friends of ours were up for the weekend and up in Hiawassee. Do you know where Hiawassee is? And so we met Saturday morning, had breakfast. Nice little gravy and biscuit place. My kind of place. Gravy and biscuit. Yep. Now, the lady who waited on our table, I understand, I get it, but people are different. She said, do you want gravy on the biscuit or on the side? And I just like, you really have to ask? Put my gravy right on that biscuit. Just enjoying myself. So great friendship, fellowship, and just a time of joy Saturday morning. I'm going to share this. I'm not going to share who I had breakfast with. It is a secret, but I will share this. Very political friend, very political. So when I went up there, I'd never met this gentleman's wife. Same here. And I said, when I go in, we're going to find out if we have anything else to discuss other than politics. I think we spent 2 hours together. I think we got an hour and 45 minutes in before some political talk creeped in. But we did very well. We enjoyed it. So that was Saturday morning, right? And I have a very long week ahead of me. Again, you can always go to our Substack, Vora, V-O-R-A, Substack, V-O-R-A, BKP Politics on Substack. Follow us on X, YouTube, Facebook page, and Rumble, Voice of Rural America, and we appreciate it. And we do not want to start the week without saying thank you. And we just love it. I mean, we really do. It helps keep the lights on. You know, is that something you just say? It helps keep the lights on, mean pay the power bill or whatever, pay the internet bill so we can keep coming on. But we have at the bottom of the Substack an option for you to subscribe as a paid subscriber. And we thank you so much for that. We appreciate everybody. Everybody that shares. I was talking to someone the other day and they said, your Substacks politically in that circle are shared all around the state. So how many times can I say thank you? Not enough. You know, today is a difficult Monday, and I'm going to tell you why it's a difficult Monday. I made a decision that after the primary was over, the runoff in June between Burt Jones and Rick Jackson, that I was going to focus on the governor's race. I want a governor to be in the office that will not bring us any of the crazy far left policies that I see from Democrat Socialists of America or Democrats across the country, like California and New York and New Jersey, and the list goes on. And I said, kids, do not try this at home. Do not try this at home. I'm serious. I'm not advocating, but I like to be honest with the audience. I like to be very honest. I go on the back porch and I have a cheap cigar, and I sit out there and I say, self, I know I'm just having fun. Self, look, you don't want to write things and do shows or podcasts that go Republican negative, but then you over here on this shoulder pops up, well, you're dedicated to telling the audience the truth, even if it's a bad day. You actually say at the end of every podcast, at the end of every Substack, another nugget of truth. And then you say you don't carry water for any politician. And I have to tell you, I labor over that. And I'm not hiding anything from the audience. Never going to happen. It's not like I'm not telling you something. But I labor over that. Wait a minute. If I go with this story, it could look like I'm trying to help a Democrat. But if I go with the story, I'm telling you the truth. So everything I bring to you today, it is a little troubling to start Monday this way. But that being said, everything I have is really coming from you guys. Yes, whether you believe that or not, it's things that you're writing. It's things you're posting on social media. It's calls that I'm receiving from people. There you go. So that being said, let's just go right in the deep end. Right in the deep end. Oh, by the way, Mike Collins, watch out for that bus. Republican candidate for U.S. Senate, Mike Collins, watch out for that bus. Because that bus is out there and it is running your ass over at every turn, not off your ass off over at every turn it possibly can by none other than, well, you got the media, you got John Ossoff, but Republicans, because, I wrote this down earlier. I'm coming to you this morning or this afternoon or whenever this will publish, and I have to talk about the Ossoff red wave. Excuse me? One more time. The John Ossoff red wave. It's going to be real. And they are running Mike Collins clear over everyone. I mean, it's like it's like the ship is sinking and it's every man for himself. Did you notice my pause? Because my brain does not compute being pessimistic. It doesn't. I only compute being optimistic. I can't wait till Monday morning gets here to be with you. I'm kind of a different kind of animal here, right? I look at the bright side. I think we can have discussions with everybody and talk. I don't know. So when something I say is pessimistic or has that sound or tone, it's like I pause because I struggle when I do that. It doesn't naturally flow. But it's like the ship is sinking and every man's for himself, especially Rick Jackson. I told you that, and I will go into that. Now, before we go much further, this is where I was at 11 years ago. 11 years ago. I interviewed Sam Nunn. Do you remember the Democrat U.S. Senator from Perry, Georgia? Sam Nunn? 11 years ago, I had an opportunity to sit down with Sam Nunn and do a 14-minute interview. All right? And I'm studying Southern Democrats right now. I'm studying this, and I'm going to probably do a story right after Labor Day. I'm reading this book. I don't know if you guys can see it. Okay, over here. I'm reading this book right now. A dear friend of mine sent me this book, The Best President the Nation Never Had. Get off my back. I can already feel you climbing on it. No, I'm not advocating and promoting Democrats. Lord, does he know Sam Nunn was a Democrat? Yes, but here's what I do know. Sam Nunn was not DSA. Sam Nunn was not Democrat with a D in front of his name / socialist. Just saying. So I'm reading this book. I got a chance to sit down with Sam Nunn 11 years ago, and I'm doing a story, and I'm studying Southern Democrats. I will tell you why when I get to the story, so relax. Now, I want to invite you down Saturday, because these are just, because I was thinking about Sam Nunn, and I wanted to tell you this because Houston County, right? If you study Georgia politics, I'm going to try not to get stuck on some of these subjects because I got a lot to do today. This might be 3 hours, and I've got to put it all into one. I can't break it up. But if you study Georgia politics, right? This guy here from Perry, long before there was a Buc-ee's, 1972, ran for U.S. Senate. Houston County, Georgia, the political history there is, I mean, it is just amazing. I could get stuck on that and do an hour of political history in Houston County, but I won't. But Saturday, they're having a fish fry, the Republicans, because it is flipped down there. Houston County, Peach County, and Bibb County, the three Republican parties, Houston, Peach, and Bibb, GOP, have come together to do a fish fry this Saturday, August 22nd, 10 a.m. to 2, doors open at 9:30 a.m. I'm going to be down there. Now, come on. If you're new to the show, you don't know this. But if you've been around a while, you know they had me at fish fry. You know that. You know me all too well. Now, I like a good barbecue. Relax. I can just feel the tension. It's too early in the week. I like a good barbecue. But Lord knows you can get me at a fish fry. I'm in a good mood today. But they're going to have different speakers there. Different people are going to be there. You know, you can scan that. You can get the tickets now or at the door. These are good people. I don't just say that. These are good people. They're good people. And I want to go see, I'm going to call them my friends. maybe I don't know. Maybe they don't want to say it out loud, but these are like in the 2nd district, all around Georgia. I don't want to start out the week getting in trouble. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a table and a camera, and I'm going to sit down with these people and let them talk about, what's going on in their campaign. It's not going to be like grab them by the throat and shake them. So it's not going to be that. That's not what I do when I go out. I like to sit down with these people and give them a chance for you to say, you know what? I really didn't know. I don't know Tim Fleming that well. I really don't know him that well. I don't know Caleb Conway from the Georgia GOP that well. So Brian Strickland running for Attorney General. So I'm going to be down there Saturday. I can't wait. I want to see you there. Wonder 9 years ago today. I've done this once or twice. 9 years ago today. This is what I was doing. Sorry about that. 9 years ago today, this is what I was doing. I was interviewing Casey Cagle. Remember Lieutenant Governor Casey Cagle running for governor at this time? Casey Cagle running for governor. I interviewed him 9 years ago today. 11 years ago, I interviewed Sam Nunn. Wow. I'll tell you one thing different about that picture from then and now. I still have the hair. I still wear glasses. But I'll bet you that jacket doesn't fit. So, Georgia, we have a problem. Georgia, Republicans, you know how they say, Houston, we have a problem? Well, they may have a problem in Texas. We'll get to that a little later. Tallarico is keeping the Texas Senate race really lit up between Tallarico, is it James Tallarico, and Ken Paxton in Texas. So Houston, you may have a problem, but I'm going to tell you right now, Georgia GOP, we have a problem. And I've always said, my friends get tired of hearing this, but I like the whiteboard. I call it the whiteboard. I put everything on the whiteboard, everything. And I try to figure out, but if you're never going to be honest or you're not going to be honest with yourself at any time, you can't figure out what's the next move. So we have a problem here in Georgia. Jon Ossoff held a rally yesterday. Okay. Jon Ossoff held a rally yesterday, U.S. Senator, Democrat, incumbent. And it was in Atlanta. They made sure the rally was where they would get an audience. But I think I understand 1,600 people is being reported. 1,600 people crowded into this auditorium for this Jon Ossoff rally. And let me tell you something. Ossoff has the money. I'm going to say this. Rick Jackson's $87 million may have met its match. Yes. Well, he's running for governor. He's running for Senate. Rick Jackson's $87 million. You see, when Rick Jackson was running in the Georgia Republican Party primary and he was spending $150 million or the circle around him to win just the primary, that was a target. One target, period. He wasn't running against the Democrat Keisha Lance Bottoms. He wasn't running against anyone else but his target. Now he has a Democrat ticket, a ticket that's well funded. He has a Democrat ticket that I have not. Now, I went back 11 years just to say to you, I showed you at the beginning, I interviewed Sam Nunn 11 years ago. I sat down with him for 15 minutes. I've done this a couple days. I've watched campaign after campaign. I've watched the money they bring into campaigns. I watch when they invest in a ticket or they throw in the towel. Yes. I remember Democrat tickets from the past where you would not even at this point know who their Secretary of State candidate is. You would not even know, you would not even see a Democrat Attorney General candidate where a national name would come in to support or do a fundraiser for. I remember all of those days, and where we're at today with the Republican Party. Rick Jackson's $87 million may have met its match. He may be able to saturate the airwaves and let you know Keisha Lance Bottoms, according to him, which, well, I don't want to say according to him, burnt down Atlanta during the riots, allowed. Keisha Lance Bottoms did not personally burn down Atlanta. Let me get that correct. But allowed Atlanta to burn during the riots, told the police stand down while the riots were going on, those kind of things. He may be very successful at doing that. I wrote the story last week about Keisha Lance Bottoms, and her property in Martha's Vineyard. But you know what? She countered with, okay, I own a place in Martha's Vineyard, but I don't fly a private jet there. So, Rick Jackson may have met his $87 million match. Now, Jon Ossoff is running away right now, wait a minute, with this race, and he is driving the bus over Mike Collins along with Republicans. Just driving it right over Mike Collins. Now, so Saturday, this is Josh McLaren. Hang tight, I'll be right back. Had to hydrate. This is Josh McLaren. Now, Josh McLaren is running for lieutenant governor for the state of Georgia, the Democrat ticket, lieutenant governor. So yesterday, Sunday, August 16th, Josh McLaren happened to find himself in Union County, Georgia, Blairsville, Union County. Now, here is the little side note about that. Union County has in the past been an area, and here is the people in the room, estimated, I was told about 150 attended. This is what I was told by the individual that sent me the messages. I was sent directly these messages out of this meeting, and about 150 people attended in Union County, Georgia, where statewide Democrat candidates in the past, really, I know the local Democrat Party chairs in these rural counties, and for years, they'd more or less beg their state candidates running for office, statewide candidates, to come up and do a rally or speak to them, and it didn't happen. Union County went 83%, I'm pretty sure, 81 or 83, over 80%, Union County voted for Donald J. Trump. The fear of the Democrats entering into the county, holding a meet and greet with a statewide candidate for Lieutenant Governor Josh McLaren says they're campaigning all over the state. Now, something that I don't know if you're going to quite connect with me on, and you might feel I'm wrong here. Well, you say, well, he's running for lieutenant governor. Rick Jackson's running for governor. Folks, Rick Jackson is running against the entire Democrat ticket. Because everyone on the Democrat ticket is gnawing away at Republican vote. So keep this in mind. This is where it troubles me. Everything we talk about from this point on today, keep in mind Republicans. You know me, I call it the trifecta, meaning they have held the governor's office, the Georgia State Senate, and the Georgia State House, the trifecta, since 2005. I think 2026, I'm pretty sure this year makes 22 years. 22 years. Now, there's a reason I bring this up. 22 years. Because everything Rick Jackson says he wants to do, he's going to have to govern, if elected, with Democrats. And Democrats that may be one seat stronger in the state Senate, which requires the state Senate, although will be majority Republican, but still will require heavy negotiation with Democrats to get legislation over to the House. On the other side, John Burns may be down 3 more state reps, and Democrats are making a play. They're not narrowed in on the Senate, and they're not focusing in right now real hard. Yes, they are, but you got to understand me on the governor. They're able to breathe and exhale. Republicans can't exhale, breathe out. They can't right now. Republicans cannot breathe out in the state of Georgia. The ticket. Democrats can. And what I mean by that is the mountain out in front to save Republican House seats. Democrats are so bold right now, they are running a narrative, which I do not think is going to happen, and I'm pretty sure it won't, but that they may take control of the Georgia State House. But I do know this, they are going to edge that way. So no matter what Rick Jackson does, if he wins, he will have to, you think reaching across the aisle, working with the other side, bipartisan, are things that make you sick when you hear it? Well, get ready, because it's going to get the scenarios. And I'm going to do that show soon. The scenarios that could possibly happen. So keep this in mind from here on out. Republicans have held the purse strings, the legislation, the governor's pen to sign legislation. Now, here are the Georgia Democrats. Mike Collins. Now, Georgia Democrats posted this picture of Mike Collins and Rick Jackson. And this was at the Tillman event Saturday before last, okay, in Rome, Georgia. And I cannot find this picture. If you can, please send it to me. But I cannot find this picture on Rick Jackson's Facebook page, Rick Jackson for Governor X account, Team Jackson X account. I can't find this. But Democrats have it out there with Rick Jackson, this picture. So, moving right along. Now, I write a Substack and it's open for comment. I have no interest in the uglies. You know, we talk about the uglies from time to time. If you don't have anything of substance to write, and it doesn't have to meet my approval, and we don't have to agree. I have a lot of people go on my Substack. They claim on different things I missed the target, but that turns the wheels for me. I just love when I read those different comments and not the ones. I do like the ones that start out, well, I agree with you. I like those, but this one concerned me, and this is on the Substack, and it's open. I'm not going to give you the name if you want to go find it. But this is a comment that came in on my Substack. And this kindly puts everything in perspective for me. Now, I know this person. I think I'm not going to criticize a typo. Me? No, I have phone key fat finger syndrome. If you don't know what that is, you know, so, and I always have people correcting me because, anyhow, what is troubling for me on this, this statement that was sent to me on Substack is, I know the individual, I know this person, okay, and I was shocked. I read the statement, and I'll break it down in a minute, and then I had to do a double take. This is someone that I am telling you, this is someone just like, wait a minute, you didn't just say this. I'm serious. I've known this person for years. I have been to some of the most conservative meetings. I've been in the room in conservative meetings, election integrity meetings with this individual, and I blown away. So let me get to it. I'm not going to give you the name. If you want to go find the name, the name is there on the Substack with the comment. Unfortunately, this was in reference to my article. Unfortunately, I don't see Mike Collins pulling off the upset. I've seen both Ossoff and Collins commercials on YouTube. Ossoff looks and sounds so good, I'd be tempted to vote for him. Now, this individual probably can't answer for, but it's probably not voting for Ossoff. Just saying, I get it if people are out there, because Ossoff is running the red wave, and we'll get to that a little later. It all ties together. Collins has been, and that's what they intended to say, got a little W in there, but Collins has been ineffective. Hitting Ossoff on voting to raise taxes, really? Is that the best Collins can do? Now, Mike Collins is trying to break that veil. But I wrote the other day, it's like amateur hour. It really is the campaign and their self-inflicted wounds. And we talked about months ago, way back in May, if Mike is the campaign, what's going to happen? And Ossoff is ready for him. And John Ossoff is prepared with all the things Governor Kemp said. And Governor Brian Kemp is not campaigning for Mike Collins. Everything out there. So we knew what we were up against. And I get Rick Jackson is trying to win his race. But here's what I told you earlier. I remember when, and don't take this lightly, don't take this sitting down. And if anything I'm about to tell you, don't say, sit back and say, he does not know what he's talking about. Yes, I do. I told you earlier. I've watched years where they just ignored the down ballot candidates. This is Attorney General. Now, former Congresswoman Gabby Gifford and Senator Mark Kelly from Arizona will be here, right, today, right now, as we're doing this, to support Tanya Miller, the Democrat candidate for Attorney General. Let's see. I had someone else on there. I wanted to make sure I one check. Today, Gabby Gifford and Mark Kelly, senator from Arizona. Now, what they're going to tell you is he is coming and campaigning to build up a little cred here in Georgia for maybe a possible run for president. But please text me, find it. The last time a pretty big name, Mark Kelly, whether you like the guy or not, they are raising money for these down ballot Democrat candidates. I mean, in 2018, when Brian Kemp ran, okay, the down ballot candidates did have to battle some of the Democrats. But in 2022, for Republicans, in 2022, like Secretary of State in the general, Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, Attorney General Chris Carr. I mean, these candidates, even Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones running for the first time in 2022, these candidates just right in. Coattails 2022. But now, Josh McLaren, Lieutenant Governor, Tanya Miller, Attorney General Democrat candidate. They're raising money for Judge Penny Brown Reynolds running for Secretary of State. Now, U.S. Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona and former U.S. Rep. Gabby Gifford will host a Monday fundraiser as we speak today for Tanya Miller, giving the Democrat nominee for Attorney General a high-profile boost. Brian Strickland's going up against this, our candidate for Republicans. He also planning to stump with Ossoff in Metro Atlanta. Now, go back one. You see Tanya, is her name Miller? Yeah, Tanya Miller. How about this? Miller outraised Republican nominee Brian Strickland during the last reporting period, a notable exception in the period when GOP candidates held the edge in most other statewide contests. She outraised Brian Strickland, the Attorney General. Candidate, not the Attorney General. Let me clear that up before I say things. I clear that up. The Democrat nominee for Attorney General in Georgia outraised the Republican nominee for Attorney General, Brian Strickland, fundraised. Yeah, that's right. Well, if Georgia gets I will say this. If Tanya Miller gets elected Attorney General in Georgia, and currently Chris Carr is Attorney General, how are we going to know the difference? Will anybody tell us what the difference is? Okay, just a little joke. Now, I think it was Friday. Was it Friday? Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, all right, campaigned with Keisha Lance Bottoms. So that's where, I tell you, I don't carry a politician's water. And I'm not a political cheerleader for anyone. So I know out there, oh, she is the governor of Michigan and she's a wacko and I get it. Okay. You know what? The people of Michigan, which I have a lot of cousins there, so quit talking about my kinfolk. But that being said, you see, the people of Michigan like them, dislike them, because I kind of like them. Not that I have family there, but Donald Trump won Michigan 3 times. I couldn't help it. I'm sorry. There was something about that. But Donald Trump won Michigan. The people are not terrible. But guess what they did? They elected her. And then guess what they did? They reelected her. She got reelected. So when a sitting two-term governor comes in from a state and campaigns with the Democrat candidate, you don't have to accept that as, having some power behind it, but it truly does have just that. Now, let's go back to our party. Here's the chairman. Now, this is not going to be a bash Josh McCoon, the Georgia GOP chairman, but it's going to be the Georgia GOP chairman. Josh McCoon has exploded the party into shrapnel. There's shrapnel everywhere in this party. And he is the chairman. Anyone that yells at me and says, well, it's not all Josh's fault, he's the chairman. Period. Now, he chose to, by his actions, he will claim not by his words, he chose to completely endorse with his actions Burt Jones. Okay. Now, the reason I tell you that is because our party has shrapnel all over from an implosion. An implosion's from within, right? Now, Trump tries to broker a truce between Jackson and Jones after bitter GOP primary. I'm just going to say this and move on and not get stuck here. Rick Jackson set out not to win the primary. He went for a win-win, become the nominee, and destroy Burt Jones. I promise you, all you Rick Jackson supporters that are out there right now, that, well, you voted for Burt Jones. That's what, no. I can go back. I've watched politics my whole entire life. I don't care when someone goes scorched earth on someone, it happens. But not only did Rick Jackson, I think it was around 150 million, it's not easy. Jones told me at the AJC, according to People, he spent $150 million trashing me and my family. And he did. He went to destroy Burt Jones. So if you're sitting out there and saying, Burt Jones is just a sore loser. Folks, I understand very, very well what it's like when someone doesn't just try to take you on, they try to destroy you and go after your family. I know that personally. I'm looking you in the eye. I mean, not just you, your family, your children, your grandchildren. I'm serious. So quit. I get it. Quit asking Burt Jones to go sit down with Rick Jackson. There's lawsuits, there's defamation lawsuits on both sides. So that's another fraction. Now the party. I'm going to bring all this together today. Here is Rick Jackson signing. He will not, my understanding, he will not. And I was told this as early as Saturday morning. He will not. Okay? He will not return a phone call from the Georgia GOP chairman, Josh McCoon. So here he is. And I told you this, but I left something out. Not intentionally, I did leave something out. When I said all he needed was the Republican Party for ballot access. But there's one other thing I did not add in here. Postage, right? So he is using the Georgia Republican Party not to work with the first vice chair of the Georgia Republican Party, Sally Grubbs, not to work with Josh McCoon, the chairman of the Georgia Republican Party, but he is using the Georgia Republican Party, A, for ballot access and for political campaign mailing. Because while political bulk mail sent directly by a candidate's campaign is generally considered commercial mail, it doesn't qualify for nonprofit rates. Congress wrote specific exemptions into the law. So the Georgia Republican Party gets a special rate. And see, according to 2026, the United States Postal Service rates standard commercial marketing mail letters cost between roughly 39 and 46 cents apiece. If the mailing goes through a qualified political committee, that's the Georgia Republican Party, using the nonprofit rate, that cost drops to between 18 to 25 cents per piece. A savings of nearly 50%. So, Rick Jackson, he is using, and keep the word using in place, because he will use whomever, whatever, associate with whoever, I don't know if I have all that correct, for nothing more than 100% his benefit, not the ticket. So, Rick Jackson sharpens anti-establishment pitch with term limits push. Okay. Now, here's where I want to talk about this, because this troubled me. Because I've been listening to Rick Jackson over and over, candidate for governor. And I've been thinking about all the Georgia Republican Party House members that are trying to get reelected. Been thinking about all the Georgia Republican Party state Senate members that are trying to get reelected or elected for the first time. I've been thinking about all the down ballot races, how important it is, Secretary of State, Attorney General, Lieutenant Governor, the list goes on. And I've been thinking about the Jon Ossoff and the Mike Collins race. And something dawned on me this past weekend. You see, Rick Jackson sharpens anti-establishment pitch with term limits push. So, when you have a state senator that's been there 12 years, 16 years, okay. If you believe in term limits, okay. And remember, I told you before we go any further, remember, the Republicans have had the trifecta for 22 years. So it's almost like everything Rick Jackson says, you've got to weigh the thought, are you telling me Sonny Perdue, right? Sonny Perdue, Nathan Deal, Brian Kemp recently left you an absolute mess. Is that what you're telling me? Are you telling me Speaker of the House John Burns, Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, the last Lieutenant Governor, your friend Jeff Duncan, Casey K. List goes on. So if you're going to clean house, what house are you cleaning? Republican? What Republicans do you support? Do you want to go in as governor and have to deal with the Democrat Secretary of State? Attorney General? Attorney General writes opinions on law. So do you want to pass a law with your House and Senate, sign it as a bill, and then have a Democrat Attorney General write an opinion to the Democrat blue counties finding that law, quote, unconstitutional? And then it goes to court? I mean, I'm really scratching my head on some of these things right now, because if you're going to be the outsider playbook, you do know you're going to the insider Republican Party majority. That's what you're going in to Republicans that have control. Have you talked to them about the new way things will work? Are you weeding out the ones that are not going to meet the character test that you talk about? And I don't disagree with this. But I have to tell you, it's like, wait a minute, are you throwing your own Republicans, or are you saying that Brian Kemp, I know I'm just rambling now, but the outsider playbook, billionaire Rick Jackson sharpened his war on Georgia political establishment Thursday night. Well, okay. You do know that's your party. Using a campaign stop in Columbus to elevate a plank in his outsider pitch, term limits. Ethics and accountability come first. The Republican nominee for governor said, "We will root out public corruption and self-denial. Listen to the people, not the special interest." Wait a minute, listen to the people, root out public corruption and self-dealing, listen to the people, not the special interest, and like I said, enact term limits. You do know these are the Republicans. I mean, okay. Rick, you see, here's the thing. Rick Jackson is running for Rick Jackson. And, hey, that's not an attack. It's a clear observation. Rick Jackson is not, to me, thinking about, well, what if I have to negotiate with Democrats? Or what if the Attorney General is a Democrat? What if the Labor Secretary is a Democrat? What if? Every single thing he talks about is direct himself. Nothing else. So all Republicans, it's every man for themselves. Every man for themselves. And if you get run over, you're just man overboard. Man overboard. And they are not looking for a life raft for you. Because here's what gets me. I'm not going to say quote, because I would like to look it up, and I'd like to fact check this. But when Ronald Reagan left office in his second term, think about this, okay? When Ronald Reagan left office in his second term, and George H. Bush, the vice president, is running for office, right? Running for office. And is he running against Mike Dukakis? I just did that from here. I took it right here. Is he running against Mike Dukakis? And George H. Bush was wanting to be his own man, but there was a part of his campaign that was stay the course. Reagan was so popular at that time, and there was in George H.W. Bush's campaign a thought of stay the course. Got to stay the course. All right. So what I'm getting at is Brian Kemp polling numbers are high enough to where you would think almost a little bit of stay the course would resonate with voters. Because one thing voters do weigh in making their decision is change. People don't like change. They don't like change. Okay? And facts are, well, I'm not going to go there. I could get myself in trouble, even though it's a fact. I'm not going to say out loud that women are much more inclined to stay the course on something because change is difficult to some. That wasn't an attack. Please get off my ass. That wasn't an attack. It's a fact. It's very much a fact. Okay? Man comes in, says, hey, they're going to transfer me from Atlanta to Seattle. Pack up the kids, put the house up for sale. I'll go look for a new one out there and I'll meet you there. Mom says, no, no, no. No, no, no. I don't care what the job said. Kids are settled in. I have my job. We got our schools. We got our church. Got my favorite grocery store. That is just how we are wired. I know I'm going to get in trouble for that, but moving right along. So if Brian Kemp's approval rating is so high, what are you saying, Rick Jackson? That Brian Kemp allowed this? Because I'm okay with what you're saying, other than you are, to me, kind of throwing the Republican majority under the bus. I told you when we started today, watch out for that bus. Now, I'll give you a couple examples. My promise as governor is that Georgia will have one set of rules, no special deals for insiders, no personal benefits at taxpayers' expense, and more opportunity for families who work hard and play by the rules. So I guess special deals for insiders has been taking place. I'm not saying it hasn't. But when Rick Jackson runs this kind of campaign, he is running clearly for himself, obviously. And hey, you guys fend for yourself. If you win, you win. Great. Here's a couple X comments he made, or comments he made on X. As governor, we will raise teachers' pay because our children deserve the best teachers in the United States. Well, so dare I say, wait a minute. I thought Kemp raised teachers' pay. Wait a minute. I thought it's been raised a couple times. So you're going to raise teachers' pay. Okay. And our children deserve the best teachers in the United States. So are the teachers now, because of what they make, and caution, Will Robinson, caution. But are you saying the teachers now, because of what they make, are not doing a good job? That if we give teachers, and he puts raise in all capital letters, if we give teachers a raise, they'll do a better job, or we're going to hire new teachers, or we're going to go to Mississippi and find those reading teachers? What are we going to do here? Because I'm not throwing all the teachers under the bus. Now, I'm not saying you don't deserve a raise, not going down that road right now. But at the same time, first of all, caution when using the word never, because it's never is boom. But you never give someone a raise so they will do a better job. A raise does not pull that out of your employee. It just doesn't. I've been on that side forever. Your employee does such a good job, they impress you, and you want to give them a raise. But it doesn't work the other way around. You can argue with me all day long. So if you're saying we're going to raise teachers' pay because they're sitting in the classroom and saying, you know, I would teach you kids if I made $200 more a month. That'll do it, and I'll teach you. Hey, argue with me. I don't know. Give it to me. And then what it says is, well, Brian Kemp and the Republicans, because you've been in charge for 22 years, you have not adequately taken care of our teachers. That's how I'm looking at this. I'm like, wait a minute, this is a tough campaign. So you're saying Republicans for 22 years didn't take care of the teachers, so you're going to do it. Okay. As governor, my administration will set high standards for everything we do. Ethics and accountability come first. Okay. Ethics and accountability. How would he rate his primary challenge against Burt Jones? How would you rate it? Take Burt out of it. I don't want to hear any more about, well, Burt was a terrible candidate, or Burt was this, and Burt was that, or Burt would have never been able to. I mean, as soon as you put something on social media, Burt couldn't beat Keisha Lance Bottoms. Okay, forget all of that. How would you rate? You do realize when we're done, when you compile the Democrat money and the primaries just for the governor's race, we may be near $350 million for a governor's race. He drove that. Is that ethics? Is that accountability? Is that come first? Did that happen in the primary? I agree with this, but I'm not going to have any hair left over here because I'm going to scratch it all off. I got to scratch my head on these. Will we root out, one more time, back up. We will root out public corruption and self-dealing. Well, damn it, Brian Kemp, why didn't you? These are all things for you to decide. Why didn't you? My local House rep, why didn't you? My state senator, why didn't you? Your state senator, why didn't you pound the fist and say, why did I have to wait for Rick Jackson to get here to root out the public corruption and self-dealing? Listen to the people, not the special interest, and enact term limits for politicians. Some of you better get ready to retire. Rick's going to retire you. Government should work for the people who pay it, not the people connected to it. Now, you would think, hearing this, he just got here, that he's never been connected to politics or connected to the people or in the way that he has participated in contributions to candidates. I have to say, I told you I didn't even want to do the show today. I really didn't. For a guy that received $1 billion, for a guy that received $1 billion in a no-bid contract from the state of Georgia, which came from taxpayers. I can't say Georgia taxpayers because a lot of it was block grants sent to Georgia for COVID relief. Says government should work for the people who pay for it, not the people connected to it. He had $1 billion connection. A governor isn't spending their own money, they're spending yours. I will treat every taxpayer dollar as precious, knowing it may have been earned by a nurse, a teacher, or a single mom. Well, then again, you know, I mean, this is not a stay the course. If that's what you want, this is I'll straighten them damn Republicans out. That's the way I feel every time I read it. It's like, I'll straighten them damn Republicans out. Those damn Republicans have had this for 22 years. When I get there, I'll get them straightened out. Just me. Just me. So number 25 here, Keisha walked away from the fight. I never will. You are who your record says you are. Okay. And character matters. I will meet challenges head on. I will fight for you every single day as governor. Now, I'm going to hang on to this one for a reason, because I'm going to come back when I do my scenarios, because we got to do scenarios. What if this one gets elected and that one gets elected? We have to do a whole program on the scenarios. You are who your record says you are, and character matters. So now, this one we have talked about, right? We have talked about all of these things: teachers' pay raises, getting connections, getting corruption. All this stuff. But then he goes and he says, this is a Georgia State House Republican caucus meeting. All right. This is the Georgia State House Republican caucus meeting. I know that was redundant, but I want to be clear. Thank you, Georgia House GOP, for welcoming me today. I'm ready to work with you to slash property taxes, cut the income tax in half, and make Georgia the most affordable state in America. Let's take action. Let's win big. Now, just the other day, you're going to clean house. I don't know if you said that to them behind closed doors. So he's going to stand up to the insider. He's going to stand up to the insider. Right? But he finds the insider of all insiders, John Burns, the Speaker of the House. Now, I guess hearing my dad and other people, you have no use for anybody. You don't say anything. I just don't have no use for him. Well, I have no use for John Burns. Absolutely no use whatsoever for John Burns. Here's Rick Jackson. Thank you, John Burns. The first job of a school is to teach children to read. You see, these are getting to me because I'm wondering if he didn't pull John Burns aside and say, you know what? You have already exceeded. You were a state house member when David Ralston died. You then became Speaker of the House. What is it, 4 years? Is he going in his fourth year as Speaker of the House, or there 4 years, whatever it may be? You were a Georgia State House member for years. You've exceeded the term limits I talk about. Really, you need to go. The first job of a school is to teach children to read. Did he pull John Burns aside and say, look, I know you may not have been there all 22 years, but Republicans have had the damn keys to the place for 22 years. I am looking forward to working with you and the House to make Georgia a national leader in childhood literacy. And John Burns goes on there and he says, we're going to win big for Georgia's children with the next governor of our great state, Rick Jackson. Where the hell was your win big for our children in the great state of Georgia with our last governor? Why the hell are you waiting for the next one? I don't know. I mean, hey, clear me up. If I am off the reservation, hell, you can't say that, right? That's on my list of not to say. You remember the Cleveland Indians who used to have the reservation? Hell with it. The House looks forward to working alongside Rick to implement the Early Literacy Act of 2026 and ensure every child has a chance to learn to read and succeed. Okay. Am I supposed to say thank you? Now, I'm going to play a quick video for you. What number is it? Boom, 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 boom. Second to the last. Okay, second to the last. I'm going to play a quick video for you. And I'll find it here. Won't take but a second. And then we're going to go over something right here. So hang tight.
Hey, Speaker John Burns here. Here together with my dear friend Rick Jackson, our next governor of Georgia. We've been working together and talking a lot about the Georgia Early Literacy Act and how it's going to make such a tremendous difference in the lives of our young people in Georgia, impacting Georgia's future. We're going to win big in November with Rick Jackson, and I assure you, we're going to move forward working together.
Speaker Burns and Dale have done a fantastic job in literacy. Nobody's cared about that more than them. It's the best bill we've had in 30 years. And as governor, I'm going to be the chief person to implement this program to make sure that it works, because I found that people don't do what you expect, they do what you expect. And so I'm going to hold people accountable. We're going to go public, and this is going to be a statewide initiative that I look forward, thanks to Speaker Burns and Dale. We're going to win big in Georgia. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Wait a minute. So he's on there just obviously, cheering for John Burns. And it's the greatest and how much they care. Do you know the only reason, and I'm going to tell you this, there's two reasons. The only reason you got the 2026 Literacy Act in Georgia is A, it's an election year, and B, it was exposed that Mississippi handed us our ass on a platter. You got it? That's it. Mississippi went in reading from number 50 in the entire nation to number 16. There it is on the screen, to number 16. And math, they went from number 49 in the nation to number 9 in third grade literacy and proficiency in math, right? Here is how Georgia's fourth grade, not fourth grade. Here's how Georgia's fourth grade performed. Now, as you can see, it went from an NAEP score of 240, all right, on reading, on math, to 236, a slight drop. And from 221 to 214 on reading. That's it. That's the only reason. And I'll show you here in another graph really quickly. Right. In math, right? This is 2024. We're 2026. In math numbers, we ranked in Georgia 4th grade GANAEP rankings. In math, we ranked 25th in the nation in 2024. And reading was 28th in 2024. Oh, by the way, Republicans had control. Now, in looking at where does this really shake out, based on the 2024 NAEP data, the source of the statistic, the answer depends on whether you are looking at the rate of improvement, raw scores, or demographically adjusted scores. This is going to get very interesting. Number one improvement is Mississippi. As the statistic noted, Mississippi ranks number one in the nation for the highest growth and improvement in 4th grade reading and math between 2013 and 2024. Ranked number one in the highest growth improvement. In demographically adjusted scores. Now keep this in mind, rural areas, when you start adjusting for inner city, rural areas, all right, number one in demographically adjusted scores, Mississippi, very rural, very poor state. Interestingly, when the Urban Institute took the 2024 NAEP raw scores and adjusted them to account for students' demographics such as poverty level and English language learners, Mississippi actually ranked number one in the nation for both 4th grade reading and 4th grade math performance. They didn't just leave black students, poor areas behind. They didn't. I mean, I'm listening to everything Rick Jackson's saying, and I know he can't just come out and say some things, but you do know, Rick, all the things you were campaigning on. Burns is a problem. John Burns, to me, is as big a problem in the state of Georgia as you find Mike Collins running for Senate. Here's John Burns. This is August 3rd. Thanks to Georgia House of Representatives, Republican students and teachers are heading back to school with more opportunities than ever. John Burns. This year we delivered the historic literacy reform, invested in early learning, and strengthened support for Georgia's educators. John Burns making back to school better. Literacy coaches and every K3 literacy coaches in every K3 elementary school. Nearly $100 million invested in early literacy, right? More time for math instruction, reading and math. This gets me upset. I have grandchildren in Georgia State schools. Now, we'll leave the John Burns behind. But this is the same John Burns that is from Effingham County. The big news for Effingham County, OpenAI, Sam Altman, a $20 billion state-of-the-art data center. But Rick Jackson's going to get the insiders out. And he's going to make sure that people in government no longer benefit from government. You better stop taking pictures with John Burns then. Just saying. Now, let's get over to the Senate. Right? So here is the Tillman event in Rome, Georgia last Saturday. And this is from Rick Tillman event, Rome, Georgia. Very nice event. In the 14th District of Floyd County, GOP hosts the 22nd annual Tillman rally. Here's Rick Jackson's page. Now, I cannot find a picture of Rick Jackson and Mike Collins, the candidate for U.S. Senate, on any of Rick Jackson's social media. Now, when you go to Mike Collins' page, right? Mike Collins' page, fired up and ready to fight for Georgians. We are going to take out Jon Ossoff in November and put a workhorse in the Senate. Thank you to my friends in Floyd County for having me out to the annual Tillman rally. And Rick Jackson takes a picture. This is Mike Collins' page, not Rick Jackson. So Rick Jackson immediately got a lot of heat for this. So Rick Jackson went to Atlanta to launch the Legacy Corridor Initiative and also throw Mike Collins under the bus. Absolutely, absolutely. He went to Atlanta. He circled himself with several black men or black voters. We'll leave it at that. Apparently, I don't know each one, so being respectful to the people that showed up there, business owners who have felt their community has been passed over far too long. So Rick says, look, Brian Kemp's been too busy. This is my words, not Rick Jackson. Not Rick Jackson. But what I see here is Rick Jackson say, look, Brian Kemp's been too busy with South Korea, and he's been too busy with SK Battery, and he's been too busy with Rivian, and he's been too busy with Hyundai, and he's been too busy at Davos, and he's been too busy bringing jobs in, Porsche, whatever it may be. He's been way too busy working on these things here, and he kind of forgot about the black community for 8 years. Just saying. That's the impression I get. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up all the areas that Republicans for 22 years, especially the last 8 with Brian Kemp, and I'm going to go down and I'm going to the forgotten people. You do realize every time Rick Jackson says, I'm going to stand up for the forgotten people, you may agree 100%. I'm not saying he's wrong. But on the flip of the switch in the brain, you got to remember what he's telling you is it wasn't the Democrats who forgot them. Well, wait a minute. You've not been in the inner city. Atlanta's been run by Democrats for years. The mayor, the city council, look at the Democrat city council. Look at the mess they made. I get it. But if he says he can go as governor and repair and revitalize these areas, what he's saying is, regardless that the city's run by a Democrat, regardless if the city council in Savannah or Columbus or Macon or Albany or Atlanta's run by Democrats, I, Rick Jackson, can do what Brian Kemp chose not to do, refused to do, or could not do. That's it. This morning, I announced the Legacy Corridor Initiative to revitalize historic business district across Georgia. Being the #1 state for business means nothing if it does not apply to all of Georgians. Now, I'm not upset with Rick Jackson doing this. But he knew with that press conference, because he's not taking questions, or I'm not hearing questions from his audience. And he knew in this press conference right after the Mike Collins picture in Rome, Georgia, that he'd have to get in a position that he could just throw Mike under the bus. So the picture in Rome is to look like, hey, out there in the 4th district, that Mike Collins has a strong support of the base. I like Mike. But then, I don't know if it was the next day, he's downtown Atlanta throwing him under the bus. So here's where I struggle with this. Because you have this guy here. This is Rick Jackson's poster boy for the black community. Hey, you stop right there. You stop right there. You go to Rick Jackson's X account and you go all the way down through there and you find how many times you see Rent a Brother on there. Rent a Brother. One word, Rent a Brother, right? Shelley Winter. Now, I get a lot of hate mail that I don't care. You called him Rent a Brother. That's terrible. Look. No, I'm not going to say it. It was close. I'm not going to say, would I be wrong? I mean, it's not appropriate for me to say he sells his blackness. That's not appropriate. So we're going to leave that out. But Shelley Winter is a paid spokesperson. It's like you're getting, Billy Mays. You don't remember Billy Mays, but the ShamWow guy, right? This guy is a paid spokesperson. Now, how is he paid? Not for sure. Does he get a direct check from Rick Jackson? I don't know. I don't know if he does. But he is on the Jackson campaign. No, he's not officially. I'll get that message. He's not officially on the campaign. Well, wait a minute. Let's see. What number is this one? Watch this right here and tell me, and I'm going to show you what's missing. All right? But watch this quick video and tell me. Let's see, which one is it? Wait a minute. Here it is. Hold tight. Right here. Okay. Now listen to this really quick. Quickly.
Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. Rick Jackson for governor. Let's go. Entrepreneurs in Georgia, you're about to live your life. Small business owners in Georgia, you're about to live your life. It's the Shelley Winter Show, live, local, topical, and relevant. I've never seen anything like it. I've been calling for it. I've been screaming for it. I've been talking about it. I've been on podcasts. I've been on radio. I've gone in front of Republican groups at the Cobb County and Rabun County, all over the state, calling for this kind of activity, targeting African Americans and minorities in the state of Georgia by Republican candidates, and the guy is doing it.
Well, let's be clear. That's a Jackson ad. That is a Jackson ad. You've seen it at the end. That's Rent a Brother, Shelley Winter. Now, I don't know. Maybe he comes from the projects. Maybe that's why he's so excited. Maybe he grew up in the projects. I know he didn't grow up in Techwood housing or Techwood Homes, because Techwood Homes was torn down. And I know I don't know his age, but if he's, of the age of like a little tiny boy, he wouldn't live at Techwood Housing or Techwood Homes in Atlanta because it was segregated to 1968. Only white people lived there. So I don't know where he comes from. I'm not knocking him. He can love Rick Jackson all he wants. But I think he should disclose how much he's getting paid to do this. Now, the thing that's frustrating for me, when I say frustrating, those are the nice words, he's out, and Rick does not care. He's out loving him some Jon Ossoff. I mean, he absolutely loves Jon Ossoff, and he loves Jon Ossoff, and you can't get this guy. These are Rick Jackson's page. When I'm governor, the Georgians who felt ignored, forgotten, or overlooked by the powerful, a.k.a. Brian Kemp, will be forgotten no more. He will no more, right? And then, here's another one. I know some folks will say a Republican has no business doing this. I've been told I had no business being somewhere my whole life, but that's okay. I'm working every day to make sure Georgians know my heart, and that I'm fighting for them. That Georgians know my heart, and that I'm fighting for them. There's Shelley, right? Now, in all three of these, watch this, and in the commercial where he's dancing, right? He's old school in it, right? Just say it. I mean, entrepreneurs and small businesses, this is the music, right? They posted this, that him singing and dancing. Rick Jackson, baby, Rick Jackson. Jon Ossoff. Wait a minute. That would create a red wave for Jon Ossoff. Oh, I'm getting there. Entrepreneurs and small business owners in Georgia, you're about to live your life. Okay. Now, you know what I can't find? Here's the Jackson plan. We'll throw this in really quickly. The Jackson plan, Republican nominee for Georgia, Rick Jackson, used Wednesday's rollout for his new economic development plan. No, I have to say this. If it's small business, no, wait a minute. I know how many people are going to be angry at me today. I mean, I've asked over and over to sit down and talk to Rick Jackson. I can only look at what's being sent to me and what's being published and what he says. Rick, Republican nominee for Georgia, used Wednesday's rollout. No, he did not. He used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that I can count black people. He used black people for his rollout. I was just saying. That's what he used. Now, if this is people that have been, are you telling me no white people have been forgotten? That no white people are in any of these areas trying to run their small business? I don't know. I'm not trying to switch it up. To sketch out something broader too, asked whether he plans to campaign as a tandem ticket with Mike Collins, Jackson made it clear he's focused on his bid. Well, first of all, focus is the way I've been successful, so I focused on the race, period. From the standpoint, Jackson said, there's no other agenda other than whatever it's going to take to win. For Jackson, by Jackson, about Jackson. Boom. Not the Republican House of Representatives, not the Republican State Senate, not the fact that the Attorney General could go blue. Not the fact that all of Mike Collins, 85% of Jon Ossoff's money comes from out of state. Not the fact that I think 90% or 95% of the time Jon Ossoff Republicans are out there bragging about Jon Ossoff when 95% of Jon Ossoff's votes, he votes with Bernie Sanders. But don't forget, these mayors got a check, got some government money. So here's the thing that's mostly missing, and I do ask this. I mean, maybe I'm not supposed to say this because this is $1 billion. I hear it's a mega $1 billion operation. But that says 95.5 WSB. And I'm very serious, WSB. Now, I know Rick Jackson has spent millions of dollars. I don't know the exact number with WSB. Millions. Is this a paid infomercial? Is he a spokesman for the Rick Jackson campaign? Because right there, every one of those clips I showed you, the clip when he's dancing and singing, right? Ease on down the road. Rick Jackson is the way to go. Whatever, I don't know, right? You don't know nothing about that if you don't know the 70s. But anyhow, all of those and all the pictures, they cut the WSB out, the WSB, but he's sitting in the WSB studio. And he's basically doing on a daily basis, not the entire show, but almost multiple Rick Jackson commercials that I don't know if they're paying for. Shelley Winter at WSB Radio. And the source of this picture is from WSB Radio. You can find it from them. And he's behind the microphone of WSB 95.5. So I want to know how much does WSB get a certain amount of money, or are they sending an in-kind contribution to Rick Jackson for him, or is he getting paid directly from? Now, I have to tell you, if he's on the radio and he is that damn excited about Rick Jackson, I mean, for free? Remember what I always tell you about the cheerleading. Now, let's move on to the Jon Ossoff. Ossoff wants more than a win against Mike Collins. U.S. Senator Jon Ossoff is showing no mercy. The Democrat leads Republican challenger Mike Collins in every major public poll, holds massive fundraiser advantage, and is now trying to peel away GOP voters. At the Sunday rally in Atlanta, Ossoff made plain that he sees no reason to let up. A wave is building, said to 1,600 supporters crammed into the concert hall. The kind of wave that comes once in a generation when the people have been pushed too far and they decided altogether at once to say enough's enough. So Ossoff's rally became a virtual movie type quality. So the rally was a movie type quality. What they did is, I'm going to show you how they shot this video. And they did it professionally. I told you at the beginning, I think Rick Jackson has met his $87 million match. I've showed you several different ways. Now, Keisha Lance Bottoms has a lot of baggage, and she's a terrible candidate. And if Republicans could pick any candidate to run against, this is the one. But in reality, Keisha Lance Bottoms may get pulled over because that's what Ossoff plans to do. All right. Ossoff's rallies have become virtual spectacles. The movie quality production and the polished one-liners that ricochet across the media landscape, they inevitably invite chatter about a presidential run in 2028. Now, he did the entire rally to where we could have one clip right after another, and they did. My X feed is loaded with Jon Ossoff. The media is loaded running these all day. They even asked President Trump. And Jon Ossoff, well, I'll show you that one in a minute. But here is, let me just say this. It's bad enough we're up against, and I'm not arguing it's bad enough we're up against Rick Jackson. It's bad enough we're up against other things. This one's tough.
Well, and it's because of me. Biden was against all this. I don't think Biden had any idea what it was. But our country right now is doing better than it's ever done. You know, when I see polls on the economy, I should have 150%, not 100%.
No, yeah.
Because we have the greatest. This is the golden age of America. What's being built now in this country has never, ever been built. And we are literally in the golden age of America. And
Rick?
So I just say this. So for you to pay a tiny little bit more for your gasoline, just remember you're doing it so that a very evil country cannot have a country. Really, it's the number one state sponsor of terror in the world. We don't want to have them have a nuclear weapon. So remember that when you have to pay a little bit more, you're at $4. It's okay. I mean, it's I'll never apologize. I did the right thing. But you could, you know, if you didn't have.
Knows what it's like.
Swing drive, well hit right. Suzuki back. It is gone. It is gone. It is.
It's almost how I feel about the election. I'm serious. It's back. It's gone. Home run. I mean, President Trump, tiny, don't say those kind of things. Now, in this audience here, I will get people say, well, we can't have a nuclear weapon in Iran. We can't do it. He's doing the right thing. If that's what you think, okay. But you can't go out and say, look, you're paying a tiny bit more. What's the big deal? No, not a billionaire. Not someone that has made money while you're in office. Facts are fact. You can't say that. And Jon Ossoff is taking it on. Now, they have put out videos, and they shot this in movie-like quality for commercials, for the media to run it. They're all running these. ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, Fox is running them. They're all running them. They're asking Trump questions about this guy in the Oval Office. And amazing recoveries. On Sunday, Ossoff piled on, calling Collins a scandal pinata. Yes, a scandal pinata, who has lived up to the earlier warning from Brian Kemp and other Republicans that he's too tied to Trump to win in November. His no mercy strategy amounted to a dual effort to keep Trump weary Democrats energized while giving swing voters a disaffected Republicans a reason to abandon Collins. The second part is increasingly important. Ossoff isn't just trying to create the narrow Democrat coalition that elected him 6 years ago. He is also trying to expand it enough to turn what once looked like a nail-biter into a runaway race. Now, they have this thing done and over with, and I'm going to show you, all right? If Ossoff can transform can transform the contest into a route to make Collins a liability for the broader GOP brand, he could boost gubernatorial nominee. He could boost gubernatorial nominee Keisha Lance Bottoms and other Democrats down the ballot. I told you, right? Gretchen Whitmer in here. These Democrats you don't like, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer in here campaigning with Keisha Lance Bottoms. Mark Kelly, Senator from Arizona, in here campaigning with the Democrat Attorney General candidate. They're raising money for the down ballot candidates. Rick Jackson is up against every candidate on the Democrat side because that Ossoff could raise the water up enough to float these over the finish line. Keisha Lance Bottoms, if Ossoff wins 6-10 points, Keisha Lance Bottoms may only win by 1 point, but it could float that boat, right? So let me get a couple Ossoff clips in here. I want you to watch them, all right? I want you to watch a couple Ossoff clips. Let's see which one I want first. The Republican wave. I call it the Republican wave. Hold tight here. Let me get them set. I call this the Republican wave. And here we go.
Georgia. Every day, our wave grows taller, our tent grows bigger. Because this isn't just a campaign for Democrats. Folks come up to me at airports or on the street, they tell me they're lifelong Republicans, but this year, for the first time, they're voting for a Democrat. The mayor of Valdosta, Scott James Matheson, a friend of mine, a conservative Republican, he's backing this campaign. And when the storm hit, I was right there with him to check on folks, block by block, to serve meals, and then deliver federal disaster relief, because that hurricane didn't check party affiliation when it comes to Georgia. And when it comes to serving Georgians, I don't either. I don't either. And then up the road in Tifton, Mayor Julie Smith, another proud Republican who's on this team. When her hospital needed new dialysis equipment, my office delivered it. When Tift County pecan farmers told me they needed help lowering foreign tariffs on Georgia pecans, I got it done. I am grateful to Scott and Julie for their support. And there will be more bipartisan friends announcing their support in the weeks ahead. Because this is a campaign for everyone who craves sanity and competence and quality public service. This is a campaign for decent folk of all stripes who love our state and our country and care for it. Above all, Georgia. And speaking of crooks, not a lot of people know this, but Congressman Mike Collins is literally one of the most active crypto traders in the entire Congress, House or Senate. Now remember, Mike's already under federal investigation for illegally funneling tax dollars to his violent staffer's girlfriend for a no-show job. Do you remember that? But Mike Collins also repeatedly broke the law hiding his crypto trading. Because he's like a scandal piñata. So every time you shake him, more misdeeds fall out. Georgia. Every day, our wave grows taller, our tent Above all, Donald wants to get money. How much have you heard about the president's stock trading? When he first announced the tariffs, you remember that? He called it Liberation Day. And it crashed the markets because it was clown policy. You remember that? Okay, so follow me through on this. He announces the tariffs on April 2nd of last year. The markets tank nonstop for like a week because it's a disastrous trade policy. And 6 days into the crash, April 8th, Trump buys millions in stock. I'm talking Amazon, Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft, Berkshire Hathaway. And then the very next morning, April 9th, he posts on Truth Social, quote, "This is a great time to buy." 3 exclamation marks. Okay, now listen to this. 3 hours and 41 minutes after that post, 1 day after he bought millions in stock, he canceled the tariffs and triggered one of the biggest same-day rebound rallies in market history. He's trying to get money. And you saw, now he's offering paid subscriptions to presidential announcements, right? Just understand what's for sale here. The sitting president's pronouncements on war and peace and economic policy delivered first to paying customers? What an absolute crook.
All right, folks. Do you see the way the cinematography or the videography or whatever it's called, the videography, how is that what it's called? It's it being shot, the shadows. I mean, this guy looks presidential. These could be used in commercials. They're using them on TV. These are sound bites. You have John Ossoff wrote the whole entire thing in 30-second, 1 minute, 2 minute clips. It's all laid out perfectly. All right. Now, let me just say this before I go any further. They're working with Republicans in Georgia to throw in the towel and give up. And the struggle you have, let me just give you one here before I go any further with this. The Democrat has some help winning GOP voters. The 2 recent Georgia defections, Mayor Scott James Matheson of Valdosta and Julie Smith of Tifton. You heard that. The 2 Republicans will play a key role in the Democrats' pitch to uneasy conservatives. Now, remember at the beginning of this, go all the way back when we started, I tied everything together. And the reason this all goes together today is because, remember, I showed you the what is it called? The comment on my Substack, right? The comment on my Substack where I told you, I know this person. And this person said, Collins, doesn't look like they stand a chance. And Ossoff sounds like someone you might vote for. I told you that from the beginning. I showed you that in here, right? The 2 Republicans will play a key role. He pointedly said more bipartisan friends will soon add their name to the list. And he also said yesterday there's more that they're going to be bringing out that's negatives on Mike Collins. They're not coming off. I don't even like the buses running Collins over left and right. They're not going to come off Collins's throat. It's not going to happen. They're going to keep him down. They have him pinned. They're not going to let him off the mat. They're in a 10 count, all the above. Every cliche I could throw out here for you, right? They want to stick a fork in him. He's done. What else can I say, right? And even some veteran Republicans who aren't crossing the aisle are sounding increasingly fatalistic. I had to look at that twice. You know me with big words. Fatalistic, fatal, done, finished, boom. Now, I know you're not going to like who considers it fatalistic, and even some veteran Republicans who aren't crossing the aisle are sounding increasingly fatalistic about Collins's prospects. Republican nominee for governor Rick Jackson is distancing himself from Collins, right? While Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, who has criticized Collins' ties that Trump won the Georgia 2020 election, notably declined to endorse him over the weekend. Now, we understand that Brad Raffensperger has endorsed, I understand he has, I don't have it in front of me, has endorsed Rick Jackson for governor. Chris Carr has endorsed Rick Jackson for governor. Now, sources tell me, all right, sources tell me, so we can argue about it later if you want to, that Rick Jackson paid off Chris Carr and Brad Raffensperger's campaign debt. That's what I've heard. Sources said that Rick Jackson, you can fact check it, you can get somebody to qualify it. But sources say that Rick Jackson paid off Chris Carr and Brad Raffensperger's campaign debt. That's what I hear. I'm telling you. Now, Brad Raffensperger was asked about endorsing Mike Collins, and he said something to the reference of, well, as Secretary of State, I should not endorse, and I don't, or something. But he completely shut down endorsing Mike Collins. Jordan Fuchs, Fuchs, right? Jordan Fuchs, a Raffensperger deputy and longtime GOP strategist, took it a step further in Politically Georgia podcast interview. I listened to it last week. She said she's normally reluctant to write off a candidate months before Election Day, not this time. I heard her say it last week in the podcast. She said she's normally reluctant to write off a candidate months before Election Day, not this time. Here is the quote. I've seen amazing recoveries, she said, but I don't think that's going to be the case here in the Senate race. I think there's too many forces against Mike in a particular race. Now, here's where all this problem lies, and here's what they gin up with the AJC and everything stirred up and manipulated. Every single candidate, I'm telling you right now, every single Republican candidate, when they get asked to go to this event, when they get asked to speak at this event, when they get asked to come to, an ice cream social, who's going to be there? Well, this one's going to be there. Mike Collins is going to be there. Every single candidate. I'll look you in the eye and tell you, I have not been told this quote. I want to be clear. I've not been told. Rick Jackson, that's become very clear, painfully clear. Rick Jackson, right? Greg Dolezal, Tim Fleming, Brian Strickland. We'll stop there. Those candidates on the Republican ticket, every single event, they are figuring out how much political capital it will cost. Is it going to hurt them? Will somebody try to take a picture with Mike Collins or someone else? Yes. Because of things like the two mayors that came out Republican, because of people like WSB, Shelley Winter, coming out supporting Rick Jackson and John Ossoff because of all of these things, because of Brad Raffensperger, because of Jordan Fuchs, because of all of these people. It's like shrapnel, and you don't want to get hit with it from the GOP implosion. I've told you that. I told you when I started today, I don't like this at all. Now, close to the end, John Ossoff's anti-Trump pitch gets personal. Now, who is the press secretary for the president? Caroline Leavitt? Is that her name, Caroline Leavitt? Okay, she's leaving. There's a lot of rumors around why she's leaving. She just had a baby. Why did she even come back to work? A lot of questions why Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary for the president of the United States, is leaving. Okay? But then there is the whole, well, when the president Donald J. Trump used Air Force One as a decoy plane getting out of Turkey, he left Caroline Leavitt and others, reporters, and Scott Bessent and Marco Rubio, we understand, on Air Force One, and he got out with a couple other people in a food truck, transferred to a military plane, and left Turkey with Air Force One being a decoy plane because of an Iranian terrorist threat. Now, the point is over on the president's plane was Natalie Harp. Now, Natalie Harp stays with the president, and I've often asked, and I'm gonna say this whether you like it or not. When President Trump at 1 and 2 in the morning, or 12:45 a.m. to 2 a.m., and he pops out 19 or 15 or 10 Truth Social posts in a row, I'm like, who's sitting next to him writing these? Because Natalie Hart, this young lady, 35 years old, there's rumor, not started by me, BKP, but there's rumor. And there's rumor Caroline Leavitt's like, well, wait a minute, I was expendable and you got her on the other plane. But she sits next to the president nonstop and types his social media posts. She's by his side all the time. Now, John Ossoff's anti-Trump pitch gets personal. U.S. Senator John Ossoff's scathing takedown of President Trump entered a new territory Sunday, and this time his fiery remarks went viral for very different reasons. The Georgia Democrat roasted President Trump over his reliance on a 35-year-old House executive assistant, Natalie Harp, a near constant presence at the president's side. Yes, she is. Now, he went one step further, and people are implying things, all right? I just want to say they're implying things, and let me see where it's at. Let's see. I'm going to go with this one here for now. So yesterday he made the comment. Let's see. Wait a minute. Stay with me. Let me see what this one is right here. I'm going to play this one.
When Eva's old enough to ask me why I let this happen, I'm determined to answer truthfully that I didn't. I'll tell her how the same year she turned 5, Georgia stood up all together, all at once, and said, enough is enough. I'll tell her how we overcame every doubt and dirty trick, not just to win, but to set a new course for our state and our country and our world. Because Atlanta, our power's right there, just waiting for us to pick it up and use it. And a wave is building. The kind of wave that comes once a generation when the people have been pushed too far. And they decide all together, all at once, to say what? Enough is enough. The polls open in 8 weeks, Atlanta. 8 weeks. Atlanta, are you ready to work? Atlanta, are you ready to win? Thank you. God bless.
Let's go. Too many thank yous. About plenty. I've never. Let's go, Letty. Let's go, Letty.
The president sleeps through his meetings. He golfs and trades stocks. See, he doesn't want to do the job. He wants to build his ballroom and travel with Natalie on their apparently defenseless flying palace gifted by the Emir of Qatar. Above Georgia.
John Ossoff said you'd rather travel with your aide, Natalie Harp, and build the ballroom than do your job as president. What is your response, John Ossoff?
You mean Pee Wee Herman? Pee Wee Herman lookalike? No, I would much rather do other things. We're building a great facility here. We're fixing a White House that hasn't been taken care of. You can look at this. This room was a disgraceful situation in the Oval Office.
John Ossoff said you'd rather travel with your aide, Natalie Harp, and build the ballroom than do your job as president. What is your response, John Ossoff?
You mean Pee Wee Herman? Pee Wee Herman lookalike? No, I would much rather do other things.
All right, Mr. President, I respectfully say, Mr. President, that the nicknames, Pee Wee Herman. But see, John Ossoff went there. He said Natalie Harp. Natalie Harp. John Ossoff went there. He said Natalie Harp. I'm just saying. Just saying. He went there. Natalie Harp. And, you know, I don't know. It's a rumor. Yes. It's getting out there. Yes. Caroline Leavitt's leaving. Yes. Sources are saying there's a lot of rumbling around the administration of people saying it may be time to look at the exits and get an exit strategy out of this administration. I don't know. They're filling the room. James Tallarico in Texas, running against Ken Paxton, is filling the room down there in Texas. Sherrod Brown in Ohio seems to have a lead in the polls against the Republican incumbent there for Senate. I mean, it's quite interesting. But the fractures in the Georgia GOP, and I did not create this. I have to report it. Take the time and tell me anything you want to tell me that you don't accept, that you think is different, and don't hesitate. Not at all. Not at all. Now, I'm going to work on one more story tomorrow. And I want to put it up tomorrow, and I'm going to wait. And I will tell you this. Let me get this out as a close. And I want to give you some homework. I know you don't like that, but we're going to do it anyway. The great data analyst and level-headed, does not go here, stays focused, doesn't miss the assignment, doesn't get off track, is Mark Davis. And if you don't know Mark Davis, you should know Mark Davis in Georgia. He is the great Mark Davis. To me, he's a contributor to the Federalist. He wrote this article, and I'm going to make this short. He wrote this article. Go look it up in the Federalist, August 6th. He was ahead of the curve. Princeton study shows how bad actors can exploit Georgia elections to expose how you voted. Now, AI, and I'm not going to go into great detail and break it down. Go read the Federalist article Mark Davis has put up. You could see the name again. Do the search. Princeton study shows how bad actors can exploit Georgia elections to expose how you voted. Now, we are supposed to be guaranteed privacy of our vote. Now, they could tell in the primary we pulled a Republican ballot or a Democrat. That's the primary. But even in the primary, they're not supposed to be able to tell at any time who you cast a vote for. With the algorithm and with other things where data is concerned, because I'm not a data analyst, I've had it explained to me, and now with AI technology, they can tell how you cast your vote. Not Republican and Democrat. They can tell who you cast your vote for. Yes. Now, I would say if you want to question that, fine. And I'm not saying we use the AJC here to validate election integrity or these kind of stories, but you see, when Mark put his out this morning, the AJC, right? 9 days later, is it 9 days later or whatever? The AJC put out their story ahead of tomorrow. Now, tomorrow, Tuesday, the Georgia Board of Election, State Board of Election, all right, is hitting with a new rule to try to protect the privacy of your vote. So they come out today. They have to do this. But it's actually not a bad article because they do acknowledge that this Princeton study shows, research exploited the weakness in the system. Georgia passed on election upgrades. A Princeton researcher exploited weakness in the system. The demonstration has revealed a database. Excuse me, one more time. The demonstration has revealed a debate about security upgrades for Georgia's election voting system. And they actually, this article in the AJC shows the study that they can tell how you vote. Now, there you go. I mean, maybe you might believe it because the AJC wrote it. I'm just saying. That was really a joke. So here is just a brief. The SEB is going to pass, that's the Georgia State Election Board, to decide on a new rule. The synopsis of the proposed rule of the state election. Proposed. The rule amendment is the authority of the state election board, blah, blah, blah. It is intended, the rule is intended, and purpose of the rule to establish reasonable, necessary, and uniform rules and regulations to carry out the responsibilities of the state of Georgia with respect to the use of voting equipment in elections, to provide for the secrecy of the ballot. So they're going to propose a rule tomorrow you can watch the state election board when they debate this. But as I said, Mark Davis wrote this in the Federalist over a week ago. The AJC wrote it this morning. And they can tell who you voted for. They have a way to do it. Just think about selling that data. So as we leave today, I'm going to work on a story called Scenarios. And I'm working on a couple stories. I told you when we started, I'm studying Southern Democrats. There's a reason I want that right after Labor Day. These are all going to be before early voting starts so you can share them because I go through a lot of detail and a lot of information. But I'm hearing a lot of people call me and say, what if this? What if this happens? What if you think if this happens? So I'm hearing scenarios. Well, if Democrats win this race, it's like a chessboard. And I thought to myself, you know what? I've got to go do a story concerning the scenarios, what could happen, and put it out there. Because a lot of you might make a decision on who you're voting for based on, well, there you go. I find this interesting. This is in a story, a future story. And I'll tell you why. I like to leave a little mystery here. But this Rick Jackson post, right? I never met my father. Maybe, no, on a different time. I never met my father. My mother battled alcoholism. I had 7 stepfathers before I was 12. Lived in 5 foster care homes and went to 13 schools. By the odds, I was never supposed to be here. Hard times do not define you, but they test you. They build your character, fortify your values, and reveal who you really are at your core. So here's my takeaways. Didn't know his dad. Mother alcoholism. 5 foster homes. 13 schools. Right? Who you really are at your core. Because I'm going to tell you, since the day this guy said he's running for office, I've been searching for who he really is at his core. That does it for me. It's a long one, 2.5 hours. I had to do it. But look, let's leave on this. Don't leave yet. Please, just stay one more minute with me. And the reason I say that is, I thought this was just great because I get tired of politics some days. So this guy is a rookie. He's been called up by the minor leagues, called up from the minor leagues, and he has his rookie debut. His rookie debut. And this what happens.
Swing, drive, well hit right. Suzuki back. It is gone. It is gone. It is gone. 3 homers for Baez. Major League history at Wrigley Field.
The president sleeps through his meetings.
Baez hit his Major League debut right out of the minors. 3 home runs Baez hit. 3. St. Louis Cardinals are playing the Chicago Cubs. And on that third home run, Cubs fans had enough class. Cubs fans had enough class, although it was a St. Louis Cardinal, to give him a standing ovation. A standing ovation. And yesterday, his cleats, Baez's cleats, were taken to Cooperstown. Now, we don't know if he will make the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown in his major league career. But I'll tell you what, his cleats did. And just the fact that that is classy. And it seems like on the other side of the aisle, our politicians have no class at all. They don't. They have no class. They have no character. It's all about their self. You know what? If the other guy wins, forget politics for a minute. But if the other guy in life wins, if something happens and it's not about you, have the character to stand up and cheer for them, even if it's not in your home stadium. Way to go, classy Chicago Cubs fans. I'm your host, BKP. I'm going to take a brief break. Yes, you know what's getting ready to happen. I'm going to take a brief break. Follow us on our Substack. Follow us on X. Keep an eye on our Facebook page and X. So when we publish these live, I've got a lot going on this week. Don't forget the fish fry Saturday. I'm going to take a brief break. I will see you real soon.